Hello, welcome to NOLA Stamping. I'm Barb Baldwin, and I have a cool card to share with you today. So, I am using the Sweet Memories paper pack. It is the paper for February, and it goes pretty great. I really like how pretty the papers are. The colors all go together, like they're all like really muted. And it's just kind of a fun, like ledgery, camera, floral sort of inspired paper. So I wanted to make a more like grown-up, adult kind of looking card to go with it. So I'm going to be using the February 2024 stamp of the month. And I got the thin cuts that go with it. And so I just wanted to show you when I get something in, like what I do. I go ahead and I match up all of the thin cuts to make sure that the correct thin cuts are in there. And this one, I know that I'm going to be cutting out those flowers a lot. Like, they are adorable flowers. So I'm taking a piece of just extra copy paper. So it's like a thin paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up and I'm going to put the leaves together in a little area, and then I'm going to put like the flowers with the stems and then the rest of the flowers. And I just try to put together things that I know that I'm going to cut together a lot. So then I'm going to take some washi tape and I'm just going to make a couple little like sets. So this washi tape is pretty old. I'm trying to use up the rest of it. I accidentally washed it, so I don't want to use it too much in my regular stuff. So I'm just using it to kind of make 3 little groupings that I'm going to use in my die cutting machine. And then I just make them into like little packs that are like, a good sized sort of thing. So, one's like 3x4, one's 2x3. I think it happens that way accidentally, but I put them all together and I make sure that the washi tape is pushed down on the copy paper. You're going to leave the copy paper in there so that it sort of protects the cardstock on each one. And then we're just going to grab cardstock that goes along with the little things. So I'm using mulberry for the stem flowers, and then sage for the greenery, and then I'm just using white daisy for the base of the flowers. And it's kind of cool because it then you can use like smaller scrap pieces of cardstock that you have in your stash. And you don't have to like cut everything out all at the same time. So it makes it easier to just, put a couple like pieces together and run them through the machine quickly. And since I know that I'm going to be using a bunch of these, I know that I'm going to be cutting out a ton of them because it's such a versatile, beautiful flower for this month. So as long as I got my die cutting machine out, I'm going to cut out a scalloped circle out of the mulberry paper, and then I'm going to use the new 3x3 postage frame, and I'm going to cut a piece out of mink for that postage frame. All right, so let's get to stamping. So I'm using sage, and I'm going to stamp all of the leaves on the sage color. So then it'll be sort of like a tone-on-tone kind of stamping, which will look really nice. So next I'm going to take a piece of mulberry that's 3/4 of an inch by about 4 inches. And I'm going to stamp using the charcoal ink, just so that it's not abrupt, but it'll fit with the nice subtle feeling of the card. And then I just, because the sentiment, the thinking of you sentiment has a bit of some curly cues on it, I didn't want to get anything cut off, so I'll just trim the top off and do dovetails when it's time to assemble the card. So because I wasn't 100% sure what coloring medium I was going to use in the beginning, I used intense black ink to stamp the outlines on the white daisy. It's a ink that doesn't react as well, or doesn't react at all to like if you use alcohol markers. But since I'm using the colored pencils, I could have just used a regular black or like a charcoal or a color if I wanted. But the intense black ink does pop pretty nicely. So I'm kind of glad that I used that. I did recently re-ink my ink pad, so it's super, super gushy. So I apologize for that. And I try to be a little more careful with it so that I don't get too inky of fingers. So lately I've been using the Colorista colored pencils from Spectrum Noir, and I really have enjoyed using them. The more layers you put on, the more the color seems to blend together. So I really enjoy being able to listen to an audiobook or watch a show or something, and then just spend some time coloring. So I do do this to relax a little bit, so it does take a little bit longer, and I put multiple layers on. But I'm just going to speed it up and show you what I did. For the centers of the colors, I first colored them with pink and then filled in the edges with a lavender or a purple color. And then I use 2 or 3 greens. And I always go to wherever the lines are on the stamp, because that kind of indicates to you where the shadow is. I try to start from there and then move my color out a little bit. So I went in and I colored a couple of the extra flowers, the main flower that we use, and the bouquet flower. So you'll see the bouquet flower in an upcoming video. So time to assemble everything. So first we're just going to dovetail the sentiment strip real quick. And I just find the center, cut up with my scissors, and then cut up and over at an angle from each one of the corners. Then I'm going to take my A2 card base, and I'm taking the pieces of the Sweet Memories, the blue. I did a 1/2 inch strip for each one of the sides. Then for the center bit, that'll be 3 1/4 inch wide by the height of the card. So the height is 5.5 inches. So then we're going to take the mink 3x3 postage frame. And this is the little fiddly bit. I'm taking just a little piece of scrap of the sage green printed paper, and I'm putting it on the sides. It is a little tiny touch for the front of the card, but I kind of like how it came out, just so then the corners look a little different on the sides. But getting everything lined up, I really recommend getting the frame set to where you want it to be set. And then hold down the frame and put the piece, use a tape runner to put the little tiny sage piece in, and then do the other side, because it'll just make it so much easier to put the regular frame. So then after we get that set, go ahead and trim off the extra little sage bits. And then I'm using a liquid adhesive to attach the frame. I'm making sure not to put any adhesive on the very corners, because those are going to get snipped off. And then you just want to sort of angle it over those sage bits. So next I'm going to take some leftover 3D foam from a shaker card, and I'm going to use that to pop up the dovetail. I do like sort of using a bone folder or my little 3D paper crafting tool I just fold up the edges just to give it a little bit of dimension. So then we're going to take the extra little greenery and some of the extra little flowers that we colored and just use those as extra little foliage behind the scalloped circle. So I'm using some of the 3D foam to put the regular flower like cluster in the center. And then I'm using the white gel pen to just do a little doodled accent around the different scalloped border parts, just to give it a little tiny extra little touch. And then I'm sort of trying to figure out where I want the foliage to go. So that's the bit that takes the longest, I think, is just seeing where it looks good and then glue it up and just sort of sneak it in. Like, I always make sure that the foliage looks good first, and then I'll lay down the scalloped circle bit. And another fun thing to do is to cut your flowers in half, so then you have two pieces of a flower instead of having to color a whole nother flower or something, because it would just be covered up if you put the whole thing underneath the scallop circle. So that's a fun trick. So when we've got everything sort of set in place, I'm just going to use the tape runner to attach the scallop circle on top of everything. I like using the scallop circle or liquid adhesive so that you can sort of move it around and make sure everything is covered properly. And then I'm just going to take a piece of the zip strip from that paper pack and dovetail it and put it up at the very top. And I had played around with using the Love Notes puffy stickers, but I thought that it didn't quite pull together using those for the centers. But I wanted to use something for like the very center of the colored flowers. Like, I spent time coloring them, so I want to kind of like show that off as an accent. So I grabbed some white enamel dots and I put those in the center of the flower, and it just sort of cleans up the center of that flower. And it's a nice way to embellish the card also. So they do come on a clear pack. So that's kind of nice so that you can kind of see where everything goes. So it's just going to be a last couple like enamel dots and then trimming up the sides of the frame. And that card is done. Well, I hope this inspired you to make this card as is or make it your own. Either way, I can't wait to see it. Don't forget to stay crafty.